Welcome to the Matt and Dale podcast, episode 12.
Hey Matt.
Dale, hi everyone. Welcome back to the Matt and Dale podcast. We're just having a bit of a laugh actually, because we tend to talk about a topic, but for some reason, I think it's the way that we naturally flow with these things. We sort of go off topic, but we managed to come back to the question usually, but we're just laughing at the fact that it's funny how often we actually do veer off the path a little bit in these podcasts. But the question that we're going to raise today, and something we're going to talk about, is with the challenges of life, we have all these crazy emotions, all these thoughts, the inner critic come up, all these different feelings that show up. How do we not get swept away by them and still focus on, say, a goal or keep our eyes on the prize without getting swept away with these emotional storms? So that is the question that we're going to be talking about today in this podcast. And
Yeah.
we're just going to sort of see, what comes up for us and see if we can stay on this path or whether it will naturally veer off again.
Yeah, well put, Matt. I think it's a kind of a challenging one to answer as well. Because, how do we keep our eyes on, let's say, where our future selves are going? And we used an Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm going to say it, we used an Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary. Not that I watched plenty of those, but this was a documentary on Arnold Schwarzenegger and how he kind of built his career in the bodybuilding area, right? And we were just saying he lived in this very conservative home in Austria, many years ago, 60s or 50s, not sure. Um, but what he did is he had these pictures of bodybuilders in his bedroom. Um, and he knew something was going to happen in that area of his life. He was very much into his bodybuilding at that point and getting stronger. And at that time, there was no industry and real industry or career in bodybuilding, as far as I knew, as far as I understood from that doco. But he knew something great was going to happen to him. So what happened is, I believe his parents were quite conservative. I think his dad maybe used to physically abuse him, or there was some
Mm,
domestic abuse involved.
mm,
Um, but I think he ended up migrating obviously to America eventually. But whatever got thrown in his way, and I'm sure he had the inner critic coming in all the time and, not getting to a certain competition or not winning, he just had this kind of view of who he knew he was going to be. He just had this, I guess, a self-belief. And so no matter what, the critic got in the way or, maybe some depressed thinking or some anxiety, it was all just short-term noise to him. And he almost had that future self as more of a reality of who he was rather than his current circumstances, I guess is what I got from that doco.
yeah.
And I guess my question is, and this is the big question, how do we, or how do you out there, how do you sort of perhaps move through the noise of the ups and downs of your life and keep your eyes, as you said, on the prize of, who you could be or who you could be? Is that two different things? How do we understand who we're going to be, first of all? And some people clearly maybe have it more naturally than others. But is that something we can work on to get
It's
that goal? And then how do we then know with more certainty that that's our reality, even though it's in the future, which then overrides all the little noise in between to get to that point? I think I'll call it the $1 million question,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, it's a really good point. Arnie. But it just came up to me. I didn't mention this to you, Dale, but there's another documentary with Arnie, and it's called Pumping Iron. I think it was made in like the late 70s or early 80s. But someone actually interviewed him and said, "Oh, Arnie, do you ever, what happens when you feel extreme feelings? Like, do you ever get sad or
Okay.
angry or anything like that?" And he said to them, "No, I don't need to worry about that right now. I'll worry about it after I win Mr. Universe." I don't know if
Right?
that did you
No,
see
I
that?
didn't see that.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got to say, it reminds me of something else I saw. And we're talking about like obviously superstars here, but Michael Jordan said something quite in a similar vein, all right. I think it was something about he was just, dropping these shots from, outside the three-point line as Michael Jordan does, with seemingly ease. And then I think it was some reporter came up to him. So you ever worry about missing a shot? And he said, "Well, why would I worry about that? Because why would I worry about missing a shot when that hasn't happened yet?" Like it was almost like, why would I worry about something that hasn't happened?
Yeah.
And it was
Mm.
just like, how do you get that? How do you obtain
Mm.
that kind of like Arnold, that kind
Yeah.
of unwavering, I don't know, whatever you want to call it,
The thing that
power
I
also.
the thing that I got from Arnie from that interview with that journalist, I saw that as maybe Arnie, yeah, it's good to have the eyes on the prize, but I
Mm,
feel like there needs to be a balance. I feel like Arnie was probably resisting a lot of feelings, and he's been asked
true.
about the treatment that he got. From my understanding, his father was in the military. He was quite hard on him.
Mm.
So he's been questioned about that and he just brushes it off. So I suppose, how do we find balance where we're just, because it sounds like, in my eyes, Arnie was doing a lot of resisting and didn't actually want to feel anything. So
Yeah, he
maybe,
was he
maybe
was avoiding it or
avoiding, yeah,
overriding it. Yeah. No,
or
absolutely agree with that.
maybe bottling up his emotions. So it's just
Yep.
easier to say, I'm not going to worry about that until I win this. So maybe he was protecting himself. So how do we find balance where we're actually not resisting, we're acknowledging that, hey, this is hard, I'm feeling this, but I can handle it. I'm going to get through this. So we're not actually going one extreme or the next. We're actually noticing, acknowledging that it's completely normal to feel these emotions, but it's not going to stop us. It's not going to be a roadblock into us achieving that goal or that
I love it
destination.
because what we're
Mm.
doing now is we're almost kind of going beyond what Arnie did, and maybe even Michael had a bit of that in him
Yeah,
too.
take that, Arnie.
Or Michael. And,
Or
and we're
Michael, yeah.
basically saying, yeah, like he was avoid, and he probably did, because I believe the story was he moved away from home and didn't really invite his parents in to anything he was doing in the bodybuilding or, movie
Mm.
world or whatever until a certain point of time. I think where he reacquainted with his mother, which tends to sort of suggest that you were quite yeah, quite correct in that assumption, right? There was definitely some avoiding of difficult feelings and past and all that sort of stuff. But I think you can do both.
Yeah,
I really do because, and I think that then it's, and this is probably more in our forte, right? Well, how do you deal with all those emotions yet understand that they are, as much as it doesn't feel, temporary, or sometimes consistent, but not as is important or something like
yeah.
that as what's beyond that, if that makes sense. So that might be just an interesting way. How do we deal with that? How do we deal with those ups and downs and knowing that we can, I don't know, transform those situations?
Yeah, I feel like for me, I had a massive realization. Maybe, God, it would have been when I first started seeing someone. I I assumed that if I wasn't happy all the time, something was wrong.
Yep.
Like it's almost like I wasn't allowed to have bad days. But when I realized that my emotions are kind of like the weather, some days, might have a bit more going on. It might be a bit stormy. The
Mm,
next day might be sunny. I think what happened was I started to accept a lot more that it's okay to have feelings, but it doesn't need to like stop me.
yep.
But back when I was even started to heal for the first time, if I did have a bad day, I thought, oh, I've fallen off the wagon. I'm right back to where I was. I'm meant to be happy because I was looking at all these people around me who were doing really well. And I thought the reason why they were achieving so much was because they were happy all the time. They didn't have bad days. So I think for me, the big realization, yeah, happened a few years ago when I think just acknowledged that hey, it's okay to have these feelings. It's okay to have, crappy days. And it doesn't it doesn't actually stop me from doing what matters. I can actually take all that with me and acknowledge that, hey, the sun will actually rise the next day and everything's going to be okay. It doesn't mean that I'm going backwards, at least now that I actually acknowledge what I'm feeling. And I know that doesn't have to stop me anymore.
Yeah, because that's a good point, because that whole, oh, and sometimes we're dealing with our client, oh, I've regressed, I've got,
Mm.
I've been triggered again, and
Yeah.
kind of almost sort of saying, well, it's a good chance to go around that staircase again,
Yeah.
and revisit it,
Mm.
and lean into the trigger a little bit more. What's that about? Like, why am I reacting to that? So that once we sort of understand where that's all coming from, the next time we kind of maybe get that trigger, it may not be as significant, it may be, but we kind of almost get a little bit of separation from it, a little bit more and a little bit more. So over time, we it 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 can disappear. It can still remain with us if it's, trauma or what have you, but it tends to play a lesser significant role in our day-to-day lives in terms of its negative impact. And if you look at it from that lens and you do the work on yourself, you could see how thoughts and feelings over time would have a lessened impact on us just simply staying the course in our lives. Do you see? I'm not
Yeah.
sort of underplaying the importance of thoughts and feelings at all,
Yeah.
but let's say those, thoughts that try to pull us back or the critic that come, we'd sort of listen to it less and less over time, and it would become more like noise, where we can still keep moving towards the direction that we want to move, and just understand that that's just part of life.
It's part of life.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
And I
not
really love,
dismissing it or overriding it. It's part of, it's just part of being a human being, but we can be
yeah.
less, we can still be impacted by it, but less and less over
Yeah.
time.
Mm,
So
yeah.
it doesn't derail us, from
Yeah.
our purpose or what have you.
And what I really love that the word that you use is lessened. It's not like we're gonna completely get rid of this, so you're
No.
never gonna feel this again. I think it's really important that the wording that we use with that. Like by saying lessened, it's like, well, it's not going to completely get rid of it, but it's going to take a bit of the weight off so that I'm not carrying around these big emotional weights as they're not as heavy. So I can take a few of these out to make the load a bit lesser. So it doesn't have to sort of drag me back from reaching my goal.
Yeah. It also raises another point in that, I think, there's the sort of the message out there, I just want to be happy, which is fine. Like, I want to be happy too, right? I think we all want to be happy, but part of life isn't being happy all the time. And there's got to be almost like an acceptance of, if there's a thought or a feeling, not to try and jump to another place, but to accept it. And this kind of gets into the act side of things, right? Where we're just seeing and I guess just sort of seeing the ups and downs as part of the humanness, right?
Yeah.
And that it's not personal. It's just
Mm.
part of being human, so we can keep moving towards our goal.
This is really good. While we're on this, Dale, can you just explain to the listeners what ACT is or ACT? We don't say ACT really. We use the acronym ACT for it. How would you explain ACT in a nutshell, do you think, to the listeners?
Well, acceptance is the first part of it. So I see acceptance and commitment is
Yeah,
is the AC, right? Um, so the acceptance is, I guess, in the prevailing conditions of how we think and feel. This is the way that I interpret it, perhaps, and what I know about it. I mean, I haven't done a deep dive into ACT, by the way, but just in terms of my studies and etc. and how I've used it before. So it's acceptance of the prevailing conditions of our thoughts and feelings. And I guess no matter what we're facing, it's a deep acceptance of
yeah,
anything, really. And it's not it's a bit like the anti-Arnie. It's like moving towards those difficult thoughts and feelings and
Yeah.
triggers, right?
Yeah.
Within reason, not to,
Mm.
set us back, but it's more pushing into those difficulties and being with it. And I guess to a degree, moving through it, to
Yeah.
allow those thoughts and feelings to pass. There'd be, I guess, some reflection in that as
Mm.
well. To understand that my thoughts and feelings aren't going to kill me, right? And that, they're not as powerful as they give them, the credit for prior to accepting the ACT, the ACT therapy. Um, and I think the other side is that when I do that and I start to move through that, I start to feel more empowered. And then there's almost like a natural kind of, I guess, sort of flow into more a purposeful goals and aims. So it's moving through the thoughts and feelings, but then from that, I start to develop more sort of principles that I start to live my life by
Yeah.
as my overriding rather than my thoughts and feelings that I get reaction from typically. Is that how you
Yeah.
see it as well, or?
Yes, kind of like when we're faced with these difficult feelings and thoughts and body sensations, it's almost we could go two directions. We can go an action, and it's all actions based. That's what I love about acceptance and commitment therapy or ACT. We've got two directions to take. We've got the situation here. We've got the
Hmm.
thoughts, the feeling, all the
Mm.
all the
Yep.
painful body sensations going on, and we've got two ways to go. We can go do actions that take us away from where we want to go,
Principles. Yeah. Yeah.
or we've got actions that take us towards the person who we want to be in the life we want to live. So it's almost like a choice point, the old choice
Yep.
point. So I really love that. And for me, it's very practical. So if we're looking at this situation, we've got the thoughts and the feelings here come
Hmm.
up, and say the destination is, let's say we want to build connection in the community.
Yep.
Things that take us away from where we want to go would
Yep.
be things like staying in my bedroom or not calling people. All right. So that's complete avoidance. All right. But actions that take us towards where we want to go would be maybe getting out and going to a social group, for example, calling a friend or messaging a friend. Uh, yeah, so it could be something like that. But here, the thoughts and the feelings and the situation, they're not stopping us. We have the choice to make what action we want to do. So I feel like in this regard, what we're talking about today, the choice point is a really helpful tool that we can maybe
Yep.
use sometimes.
I love that. I love it.
Mm.
And we're weaving right back into the topic that we originally started with, right? Well, how do
Yes, we
we
got there.
we kind of went that way, and we've tackled it, and I love the way we've tackled it because
Yeah.
we have got to the juice around the thoughts and feelings, and we don't want to bypass them. We want to meet them, with we want to lean into it, but we don't want to react from those thoughts and feelings. We want to stay true to some principles, or I don't know, like you said, helping others or service, or whatever it is. Do you consciously, by the way, when you're working with clients, do you actually consciously go through, well, what is it that you would like to do? Or would you say something like, what if, in terms of developing those principles, if you know what I mean? Or do you sort of talk through the client about what they want to do?
Question that I would ask clients is if you knew that any thought, any feeling, any body sensation that you experience, if that wasn't limiting you, what would you do?
Love it. Love that.
But then there's this realization, oh, but it's not actually limiting me. So what is limiting you? Oh, what I'm telling myself.
Yep.
The thoughts and the feelings aren't actually stopping me. It's how I view those thoughts and feelings as stopping me from doing what I want to do.
Oh, it's the
That's what's
interpretation of the
affecting me.
thoughts and feelings. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then that's what's keeping them stuck and not moving towards, well, their goal or goals. Yeah. Because it's an interesting one because I love that again, like, because and I think, some of the viewers might be going, well, I don't even know what my purpose is, right? Moving to that level. And I would suggest by that type of process, which you've just relayed, is that you will be able to develop, or you will be able to understand more about what your purpose is by taking those principle-centered actions, right? And it's just simply by, maybe it is, part of it is I want to, be in service to others. Okay, so what sort of things could you do? And then, so you start literally just going down that path, and then you understand, wow, I'm getting a lot out of this. Maybe I could develop a little bit more in this area, for
Mm,
example, and then bring another couple of principles. Maybe it's humility, for instance. Maybe I could see others as equal to myself rather than me being inferior to others. And how would I go about fostering that as a principle? And I believe as we'd start to move towards those principles, our purpose will become more illuminated, right? And it may not be the thing that Arnie does. I'm going to be a bodybuilder or be famous or act in movie. It could be, but it might just be, I just want to become a better version of myself.
yeah.
And that would be a great purpose in itself. And then probably from that, you're going to move into more of a purposeful field or job or career or life, if you like, and be able
Exactly.
to set more goals. And, I think that's an ongoing process. I don't know about you, but that's how it's been in my life.
100%. And the irony of this whole scenario is if we are experiencing pretty extreme emotions or feelings going on, there's probably something there that we really care about. So maybe if we lean into that, we may actually find our purpose instead of avoiding it.
Could you say that one more time?
I can't even remember
So
what
it's
I said.
sunk in. You're saying leaning
Well,
into
what
would help us.
like all these like extreme thoughts and feelings that we experience, maybe it's because we bloody care so much. So maybe if we actually lent into that, maybe we may even find our purpose within that. Because obviously we're experiencing all this because maybe there's a part of us that doesn't want to lose that or doesn't want to experience a certain, like might be rejection, for example. But if we lean into that, for example, if one of our values is to connect with people, but we're experiencing social anxiety, maybe we need to actually lean into
Because I
joining
care
community
about
groups.
connecting with people.
Well, there's a famous act saying by Dr. Steve Hayes that he says, "Where we hurt, we care."
Yep.
So maybe it is. Maybe those extreme thoughts and feelings that we are experiencing, maybe they're actually indicators of the direction that maybe we need to lean into and go to.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Mm. So we may
So,
as well take them with us in our backpack, and it doesn't have to stop us.
so rejection could be something like I care about relationship. So relationships are important, like connected relationships are important to me. Um, but I feel, I feel the hurt of rejection or the potential of rejection, and hence I don't progress with that because I'm living in the thought and feeling, and I'm doing what the thought and feeling says, which says stay at home, don't go out, to not feel social anxiety.
Exactly. Well, that thought is protecting us, isn't it, from that rejection? But what if we just took that thought with us and went out and did that I don't know, catch up with someone and showed
Yeah.
the rejection part that, hey, we're safe. We can do this.
Yeah, it's challenging, but it's doing the opposite, like you said, right? Um, which then goes to show us that, well, if I listen to that part of me that says stay at home, I'm actually not going to be fulfilled because I'm going to go against the absolute need of wanting to connect and be in relationship with people. Um, yeah, it's a
You'll be safe.
fascinating area.
You'd be safe, but not fulfilled pretty well.
You're very, but safe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely not fulfilled. Probably quite the opposite to sort of talk about it, Milo. Well, this has been a really good catch up. I think I think we're
Mm,
probably around about time, Matt.
I think
Just have
so,
a
yeah.
look at the clock. I think we got there.
I think
I think
so.
we got there.
I think that was a success. We didn't get distracted by our thoughts and feelings.
We didn't get derailed too much.
That would have been hilarious.
Bit of derailing occasionally is all right. Um,
Yeah,
uh, and I think that, yeah, I think we've understood a little bit about our respective purposes, Matt,
yeah.
that we care about relationship and we want to connect, right? There you go.
Yeah. And also, everyone, we've got Jess coming in our next episode to talk about equine assisted therapy. So that'll be our next episode as well. Really interested. I don't really know anything about it. So that will be an interesting one to hear a bit more about, yeah, what Jess does and yeah, her background and how she came about doing this model of therapy.
Yeah, and Jess is a super intelligent therapist at Thrive as well.
Mm.
I've had the pleasure of working with her in behavioral support space and, just really switched on person. So it'd be really great to have her on Thursday when we'll do the recording.
Can't wait to learn a lot from her.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. Be cool.
Mm.
All right, Matt.
Thanks, Dale. Great to see you again. And
Yeah, doing a
we'll,
one-on-one. We haven't done that one for a while.
oh, it's been a few months, hasn't it?
Yeah, we've had
It's nice.
Sandra on.
Yeah, it's good to get some guest speakers in, but it's also nice to just be us again as well.
Yeah, we can always mix it up, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Dale.
See ya.
See ya. If you or someone that you know needs immediate support, please see on the screen a list of hotlines you can call. And to book in with a clinician at Thrive, you can phone the reception or book online. And remember, you're never alone.